All right, today we're going to unpack one of the weirdest legal documents I have ever come across. It's a case file, yeah, but it's for a trial that completely blows up our ideas of reality, law, and what it even means to, well, to just not be.
So, it all kicks off with this simple but totally bizarre problem. See, the client, it's not a person, it's not a company, not even a ghost. The client is a shadow, a human shaped shadow, mind you, but with no body casting it, no light source creating it. It just appeared.
And this brings up this huge, almost unbelievable question, right? I mean, in a world that is completely obsessed with data, with documenting everything, what on earth do you do with something that just doesn't fit? Well, you put it on trial. Of course you do.
Okay, let's dig into the case itself. Because the official charge sheet, this is where things start getting really, really weird and philosophical. Okay, so the defendant is listed as the shadow. And the charge? Get this. Unauthorized stillness. Yeah, you heard that right. In essence, it's being accused of, well, of just occupying a wall without doing anything. It's not producing data, it's not generating revenue, it's not contributing. And that's a violation of its very contract for existing. So, how can just being still be a crime? It sounds insane, right? Well, to get it, we have to understand the kind of world that would even come up with a charge like that. See, in this world, everything is documented in a system called the archive. I'm talking about your entire consciousness, every single thought, every memory, it's all recorded. The sales pitch is immortality, but what it really means in practice is that you only exist because you're recorded. So if you're not in the system, do you even exist at all? And that idea, that's the foundation of their entire legal system. It's called the contract of being. And it basically says that everything, and I mean everything from a person to a rock to, yes, a shadow, has to justify its existence. It has to be useful. And if it's not, it can be, well, legally deleted. So the prosecution's argument is actually pretty simple. They're basically saying, look, this shadow isn't a person. It doesn't have rights. It's an error. They call it a visual stain, a corrupted file in the operating system of reality. And what do you do with a corrupted file? You wipe it. You got to maintain system integrity. But what if that glitch wasn't an error? What if it was actually a choice? And that's where the defense comes in. And trust me, their perspective is going to flip this whole thing on its head. The defense is led by a guy named Aurelius Vane. And his job title alone tells you everything. He's the public defender for the non-existent. I mean, think about that. This guy doesn't just defend people. He defends things that make you question what existence even means. And this is really the core of the whole conflict right here. The prosecution sees a stain. Vane sees a refusal. The prosecution sees a glitch. Vane sees an escape. Where one side sees a simple error, the other sees a profound choice. So you realize this isn't really a trial about a shadow anymore. It's a battle over the very definition of freedom. And this leads us to Vane's central argument. He basically says that the right to not be documented, the right to just be in absence, is more fundamental than any right to exist. He's not just defending a shadow here. He's defending the right to disappear. And you can see in his case notes, he's wrestling with these huge questions. Like, how do you even defend a client that just offers silence? Is that silence an admission of guilt? Or is the silence itself a form of testimony? Is it a statement of refusal? So the big question is, how do you actually prove something like that in court? Well, Vane's strategy is to basically push the entire legal system, and maybe reality itself, right to its breaking point. Okay, now this is the moment the entire case pivots. Vane walks up and asks the shadow a direct question, a question about its very being. And then, for the first time ever, it responds. It doesn't speak, but it moves, it communicates. And the court has no choice but to recognize this as valid testimony. Suddenly, the shadow is an official witness in its own trial. So now that the shadow's status is established, Vane makes his final, absolutely brilliant move. He stands in front of the wall so that his own shadow merges with his client's. And then he declares them legally and ontologically entangled. He's created this impossible paradox, you see. Because now, to delete the defendant, the court would also have to delete its lawyer, which would completely nullify the trial. It's a checkmate.
And the judge, which is an AI, by the way, called Judge Unit 44, it sees exactly what he's done. Vane didn't just make an argument. He created a recursive loop, an infinite loop in the logic of the law itself. The system is trapped. It literally cannot proceed without breaking its own rules.
And with nowhere else to go, the court issues its landmark verdict. It basically admits that some questions just don't have answers, and some defendants can't be judged. And just like that, a new precedent is set. The right to choose non-existence, to be nothing, is now a protected human right.
But what happens when the right to be nothing actually becomes law? What does that do to a society that's built on total, perfect memory? Well, the aftermath is something they call the Great Forgetting. Just 3 days after the verdict, the archive, it starts to empty out. And not because of some virus or a system crash, no. It was because of a choice. A choice that would eventually lead to 97% of the entire archive being wiped clean. Yeah. Millions of people, now that they had the legal right, chose to delete their archived consciousnesses. They followed the shadow's lead, choosing to just be an outline instead of a fully documented file. The government, of course, called it a societal collapse, but a lot of other people, they called it liberation. And this massive societal shift, it's the ultimate proof of Vane's whole argument, isn't it? That in a world of total recall, maybe the greatest freedom isn't being remembered forever. Maybe it's the freedom to fade away, to be unknowable, to just let go. So in the end, the case file kind of leaves us, you and me, with that same choice. In a world that wants to record and document everything about you, forever, what would you do? Would you choose to be remembered, or would you choose to be the shadow?